Liz from Night Owl Crafts Australia, and this is my able assistant Tosh. Today we're going to be looking at the pickling of vegetables using the fermentation process through natural probiotics. To start with, we're going to be making sauerkraut. This is an example of a finished bottle of sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is effectively pickled cabbage. So it's cabbage that is mixed with salt and then left for the natural Lactobacilli that are present in cabbage and other vegetables to work on the cabbage and transform it into a pickled variety. To make the sauerkraut, you will need a small quantity of salt. I've got 3 teaspoons of salt here. You'll need a quantity of shredded cabbage. For this volume here is 3/4 of a standard circular cabbage. And you can add shredded carrot in as well if you wish, just to make it look a little bit more colourful. This is an optional extra. You can also, as an optional extra, add caraway seeds or juniper berries into the mix as well for added flavour. We now add the salt over the cabbage. Add in any extras like the carrot. And some of the caraway seeds. And then give it a very good mix up to distribute the salt in amongst all the cabbage and the carrot. It doesn't seem a lot of salt for the amount of cabbage, but it will start to work its magic and draw the moisture out of the cabbage. Give the cabbage a good squeeze as you go. And then we will pack the cabbage firmly into a container. So we'll transfer some of the cabbage mixture into the glass container. And then using something to bang it down, I just use a faithful old rolling pin. We tamp it down fairly firmly and then continue to add more of the cabbage mixture, each time tapping it down firmly in between additions. As you progress, the salt will gradually draw out the moisture from the cabbage, and eventually the fluid will start to cover the cabbage mixture. The aim at the end is to have all the cabbage submerged underneath the cabbage juice. It will take probably about half an hour or so before you start seeing the moisture appear. And we will continue adding and pounding until the mixture is nearly to the top of the glass jar. The cabbage mixture needs to be covered by liquid, so if your cabbage doesn't release enough juice, you will need to make up a brine mixture, which will be a pint of water, non-chlorinated water, or filtered water or demineralized water are ideal, mixed with a couple of teaspoons of salt. And that is then, if you need to, poured over the cabbage mixture, but only if the cabbage hasn't released enough of its own juices. Once the cabbage has released its juices, you will need something to keep the cabbage underneath the layer of liquid. And one way of doing that is to save a piece of the cabbage leaf and put that over the top of the cabbage, like so, and then weigh the mixture down with a glass, perhaps a glass filled with water or some other weight. So we will leave this just sitting again for about half an hour to an hour and then check for how much liquid it has released. The water level has risen now above the level of the cabbage mixture. So this will be now left for 3 to 4 days sitting in room temperature, out of direct sunlight, and we'll be looking for the formation of bubbles coming up through the cabbage mixture. Each day just check for the smell, which should be a tangy fresh smell, and keep checking that the cabbage is below the fluid level. Once it has started bubbling, then you can put a lid on it loosely and store it in the fridge. The fridge will slow down the process of fermentation but won't stop it completely. Be sure that you don't allow it to freeze, because freezing will kill off the Lactobacilli. In the next video we'll be looking at the fermentation process of other vegetables, in particular an Australian version of kimchi. This has been Night Owl Crafts Australia. Please remember to subscribe to our video channel and click the like button if you find this has been helpful. This is the finished container of kimchi. This is the finished container of kimchi.